Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're looking at a classic slip joint knife, this time by SixLeaf. This is the SL-07, I believe. D2 steel, RattleSnake design. We've got a very pointy tip on this thing, full flat grind, almost full flat grind. Functionally, it's a full flat grind. Micarta handle scale, and it's a fairly decent knife. Let me see. The blade length from tip to the handle scales is the tiniest bit over 3 inches, unfortunately. But a few sharpenings, especially if you focus on the tip a little bit and you can get it under 3 inches. They're saying it's a 3-inch knife, but it's a tiny bit over. Back spring on this thing is pretty strong. Remember, SixLeaf really clearly seems to be a budget line for Tucson or a sub company. They use a lot of the same components and they use a lot of the same quality. So if you're interested in a classic slip joint, stick around. We're going to take a look at this guy. Well, here it is. Now, from looking at the stuff online, this knife looks a little bit wrong to me because they've got it in green and in brown micarta. And then they've got a linen micarta version, but that linen micarta version has got M390 for the blade. $59.99 at White Mountain Knives before your discount. So that's $53.99 for the M390 version. But in the pictures, it looks like this is the micarta that's with the M390. And the brown with the D2 looks a bit darker. We should all know that on retail websites, sometimes the colors that are on the screen just aren't quite right. But, there you have it. This knife is available in M390, and White Mountain Knives has sold out of their first batch already. But they've got an option on their web pages, a little orange button called Notify Me. You put in your email address, click that, and you'll get notified when it's back in stock. The D2 version, they're both in stock right now. You can also get this knife at AliExpress. So if you're living in Europe or something, Asia, whatever, Australia, AliExpress is probably the better place for you to get it. They do free shipping to most places. I've got links down below for White Mountain Knives and the AliExpress links for this. Let's take a good look at this thing. We've got a stonewash finish on here, but first they did a light titanium coating on it. So it's got a light gray wash on it. Oh, let's do the size comparison. I almost forgot about that. With the Ontario Rat 1, which I always use. Let's see if I can get, the Rat 1's on the screen now. So, yeah, this is a smaller knife. I told you that in the introduction. That's just over 3 inches. We do have a flat section up here, so it's not a full flat grind, but like I said, very close to it. But that's enough of a section to be able to clamp onto it nicely and sharpen it to whatever angle you want. Got a slight drop point here, not quite a penknife style blade. It's a little too pointy for that. It's not that sort of rounded tip that you see on penknives, but very much that style. Very thin behind the grind, and we'll go over all the exact dimensions a little bit later on. The plunge comes down here on an angle, a very distinct plunge, and then the sharpener's choil, that's actually a little bit bigger than it needs to be, which is better than too small, so I'm not balking at that too much. Yeah, you can sharpen it right to the heel and not make a mess of that plunge, so that's good. The badging on this knife, well, we've got the SixLeaf logo right there. Not terribly large, that's good. And on this side, it says D2 up here on the flat, and then the RattleSnake for RattleSnake design there. Model SL-07. The badging's not too terribly big, and that's a good thing. One other thing that you have on here that I haven't shown you yet is that nail nick. It's a nice deep nail nick. It's easy to get your nail in there to open this up. A lot of nail nicks on a lot of knives are way too shallow and you end up prying on there and you break your nail or whatever. This guy, it's a nice big nail nick, so I'm happy with that. How well does it cut? Does it perform okay? Well, it even pierces quite good. That tip there coming to a fine point, I stabbed it into a bunch of things and it works just fine. Just remember when you're stabbing with a slip joint, always move into the blade a little bit. So like on that kind of an angle. If you are going on that kind of angle, pushing on the spine, you're asking it to start to close on you, and that's kind of risky. Now this does have a very strong back spring, so it takes a lot of pressure to push on there to get it to start closing. Yeah, see that mark on my finger? And it stays white for a while. There's still a dent there. It's a strong back spring, which is good. But it cuts quite well. It slices good, it cuts good, and if you know what you're doing with the slip joint, you can pierce with it as well, like I said. And that's pretty much it for the overview on the blade. The handle, it's not quite a straight back. There's a little bit of an arch to it. The micarta has got just a slight rounding to it, and then the edges are just rounded over again ever so slightly. Flat texture here, and here there's these lines milled on a 45-degree diagonal, and that's on both sides. That helps give you extra grip, both with your thumb here and the side of your index finger. But if you hold it like this, you still get a little bit of extra that grip on your finger. Not as much as if when you hold it this way. It all depends on what you're cutting, which way you're going to hold it, right? At least there's some texture there, which is a good thing. And micarta has grip to it just on its own, even the smooth section. We've got button screws. At least they're T8, so that's good. I'll show you the teardown a little bit later. Well, a part-way teardown, I guess, because I don't like to take slip joints completely apart, especially when they've got a strong back spring, because you have to flex them when you put them together. So I'm just going to do a partial teardown, see what kind of washers they use. But that back spring, there it is sticking out. We've got a half stop, and it feels like it's flat. It feels like we've got a square tang on the blade with just rounded corners slightly, so that the spring's holding it in the open position really strong, holds it in the half position very strong, like you push on there hard before it will close on you. And then when you close it, it holds it shut. Now I can see, I don't know if you can see it right in there, there's a stop pin on the inside. It touches right there in the sharpness trowel. You can see a little bit of a mark on there already. That's from when it's closing. The blade edge does not hit the back. It stops on that stop pin and keeps your edge safe. Another good design feature on a modern take on a classic style of slip joint. So I said in the intro it's classic, but it does have that one important upgrade with that stop pin, because the really old school slip joint blades, the cutting edge actually rested on the back of the inside of the handle, which meant if you just let it slam shut like that, you rolled over the edge of your blade. So this one, you don't have that issue. The fitment, everything looks like it fits nice and cleanly. Look at those lines in there. Very good fit. Big lanyard hole back here, so you can use paracord if you want to, which on a slip joint like this, I often, slide it into a sleeve, a leather sleeve of some kind, carry it that way. And sometimes a lanyard just helps you pull it out, because leather sleeves can be a little snug, depending on which one you get. By the way, if you like leather sleeves, check out TuyaKnifeUS.com. Dave Warren is the proprietor of that website. Of course, they've got lots of Tuya knives, but he's got a number of sheaths. He's got some sheaths that are custom handmade in Germany, and other slips and sleeves that you might be interested in. They've got pocket clips on those sleeves. I saw them at Blade Show. There's some really nice sleeves, especially for slip joint knives, that he has. So check that out. I'll leave a link for it down below to make it easy for you to find it. I'll leave you links down below for places to buy this. White Mountain Knives has it. $59.99 for the M390 version. And the D2 version is $33.99. You save 10% on both of those. That's $53.99 for the M390 and $30.59 for this one. So quite good. That's about 69 Canadian for the M390 and 39 Canadian for this one. It also comes in green for the D2. So yeah, I'll leave links down below. Just make sure you use my coupon code CCE whenever you shop at White Mountain Knives. A couple other things on this knife I didn't mention. The alignment, pretty much right down the middle. That's good. The blade play, side to side, nothing, which means they've got some pretty good washers in there. And, like at the action, it's quite good. That back spring is quite strong, but I really like the distinct stops. Very distinct, clean stops. A lot like Tucson. The grip on it, how comfortable is it? Yeah, it's okay. It's not great. It's a little bit blocky, this handle, flat on the back, just slightly rounded sides, and then, flat here. It feels a little blocky in hand, but it's fairly comfortable and it's pretty secure. My hands are just into the extra large range, and I can get a 4-finger grip if I'm just careful enough that my pinky gets on there. So this knife should fit most hands. Let's take it apart and see how it's constructed. First off, we do have a free spinning pivot pin with a T8 on either side, but I was able to get it loose and get this out with just my finger on here. I didn't need a second screwdriver. And now I'll take these two off. The screws are a very good screw. They're pretty good hardware. The quality of the screws and the fit and finish on them is a high-end screw. I like that. Very good quality for a budget knife. Now I'm having a tough time getting my finger behind here to get the handle scales off. I might need to get something sharp to put between the liner and the micarta. I closed the blade and I just used the edge of another knife, a sharp one, to get under there a little bit. Let's see, there we go. And then it comes off. Now, that's not wanting to come off. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to get this liner off. It's often a little bit easier to get them off if the blade's out, but then of course you've got the blade in the way, or it could be in the way, it could be dangerous. So there you go. That's as far as I'm going to take it apart. That back spring's just too strong. When you close it, that stop pin touches right there. Let me just show you. That stops the cutting edge from touching the back of the handle here, so you don't mar the blade. We do have brass washers, not bronze, they're brass, and that's it. I don't want to have to put this thing back together because this spring's always under tension with the blade, so that's not fun. We've got a typical half stop on the back, totally flat half stop, and these corners are almost square, and that's what pushes that spring back so far, and that's what holds it in place. Time to go over the measurements. Like I just said, the weight of this knife, 95 grams, 3.4 ounces. Yeah, that's a bit of weight. The sharpness from the factory, 60 bes. That's very, very well sharpened. The length of the cutting edge, 74.2 millimeters, 2.92 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 77.7 millimeters, which is 3.06 inches. Yeah, just over that 3-inch point. The thickness of this blade, 3.15 millimeters. That's 0.124 of an inch. That's 1/1000th off of an 1/8 of an inch. So basically, it's an 1/8 of an inch thick. The blade depth, that's this measurement, 18.1 millimeters, 0.713 of an inch. How thick is it behind the grind? Measured in 3 points and averaged out, 0.4 millimeters, 16/1000ths of an inch. This side's got an average grind angle of 18.1 degrees. This side's got an average of 19.1 degrees. This side started at 20.6 at the heel and goes to 17.5 at the tip. This side is also 17.5 at the tip, but goes to 18.7. So on this side, it's less than 1 degree change along the length. This side's got 3.1 degrees change along the length. So it could have been sharpened better, but it's sharpened better than most knives that I review, a fair bit better than most knives that I review. The handle now, the handle length, 99.8 millimeters, 3.93 inches. The grip area between my thumbnails there, 81.1 millimeters, 3.19 inches. The thickness of the handle, 13.4 millimeters, which is 0.526 of an inch. The handle depth, the widest point within the grip area is up here, 22.5 millimeters, 0.89 of an inch. When the knife is closed, the widest point is right in the middle here, 24.3 millimeters, 0.957 of an inch. And when it's open, total length of this, 177 millimeters, 6.97 inches. So yeah, 7 inches, about 4, about 3, about 7. So the proportions are good. Oh, I didn't show the balance point before, did I? The balance point is right there. I don't know why I always forget to show it until the end of the video. I wouldn't mind if the balance was a little bit over here. Maybe they could have skeletonized the liners a little bit, made it a little bit lighter, and made the balance point closer to where your index finger sits. That would have been good. I like it. I like it quite a lot. I like the small badging, the shape of the blade, the sharpness, the grinding, the thinness of the edge. They're all very useful for cutting and slicing and some piercing. I would have liked a little bit of a swedge up here. The alignment of the blade, right down the middle, that's quite nice. And no blade play, I like that. Good quality screws, although they are button screws. I don't like that they're button screws, but that's very good hardware there, so that's good. And the sharpness choil, at least it's not too small, so that's good. Could be a little bit smaller, but hey, it's okay. The lanyard hole, the placement is at the back. That's nice. It's a decent lanyard hole. The big con on this thing is actually pretty small, and that is that it's just over 3 inches. A lot of people, that doesn't bother them because they don't live where there's 3-inch laws. But if you live where there's a 3-inch law, having it 0.06 over 3 inches, that can be a little frustrating, right? If you do get one of these home, just sharpen it up at that tip a bit. Bring that tip back just a tiny bit, and your problem will be solved. So there you go, the SL-07 RattleSnake design made by SixLeaf is quite nice. I'm quite happy with it. Remember, there's links down below that make it easy for you to get it and get those leather sleeves. Thank you so much to my supporters. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it very, very much. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.